My topic is e-learning is not a food fight. And when I was doing this presentation, I was looking for pictures of food fights and found a lot of great scenes from movies in the 70s. That seemed to be a pretty good theme back then, especially among college kids. Well, I wasn't in college in the 70s, but I was a couple decades later, or a decade later, I guess. When I went to college, I was a journalism major. So what does journalism have to do with e-learning? Well, one of the things that you learn in journalism school is the concept of the inverted pyramid. So this is actually a model for how you can get to that micro-learning that Monique was talking about. So the inverted pyramid is simply that you start your article, your news article, by putting all of the relevant information in the first paragraph. So that's called the lead. The following paragraphs have supporting detail. So facts, figures, quotes, things like that. And then the end is background information. That's the nice to have things that don't really, are not really critical to the message that you're delivering. Why is this important in journalism? Well, when you're writing an article for a newspaper, if the article is too long for the space that is allocated to it, the editor can simply lop off the bottom of the article without fear of losing any of the important details. It also helps the readers, who typically, when they're reading a newspaper, flip through articles, maybe read the headline, the first paragraph, and then move on. Well, this way you're sure that they get the message in that first paragraph. So I'd like to think the same idea can be applied to e-learning. If we focused all of our attention on getting those key messages across in the first couple of minutes, it wouldn't really matter what their attention span is, right? So, after journalism school, I got a job in marketing, and I had the opportunity to work with salespeople. Some good ones, some not so good ones. And the not so good ones tended to be the ones who couldn't focus on a primary message. They really struggled with that they would get into a sales pitch mode and go on and on and on and dump all kinds of information at you. And we called this throwing spaghetti at the wall. So the idea is, if I just keep talking, maybe something I have to say will stick. And of course, that's not how it works. Half the time, their messages were so convoluted and confused. And good salespeople know that sales is not a food fight, and neither is e-learning. Now, there's another concept in sales called an elevator pitch. And a lot of you know what this is. This is simply you get into an elevator, you have 30 seconds to tell your story before the doors open again and it's over. So what are you going to say? So honing your elevator pitch is a great way to really focus on your primary message. So what about e-learning? Do we really have to focus on just one message in an e-learning course? Well, my answer is yes. We have a lot of clients who will come to us when we first start working on custom courses with them and say, here's my training manuals, convert this to e-learning. Not possible, and not smart. You don't want to have all that information to be dumping on your employees. It's just not the right way to approach this. First of all, you have information overload. There's just too much for them to consume, and they don't know what's important and what's not. You haven't told them what the primary message is. Secondly, it's too much too soon. They don't need to know everything in the first day, right? Tell them what they need to know to get started, and then you can work on the rest over the course of the next few weeks, because they're going to continue their training. So we had one client who was doing a guest services course, and part of the guest services person's responsibility was mopping the floor. So they wanted us to teach how to mop the floor in the e-learning course. Well, just because it's in the manual doesn't mean you need to teach it in e-learning. Another example of this is making coffee or tea. These are such simple tasks that once you do it once or twice, you got it. You don't need to spend your e-learning time on those kinds of things. So when this happens, we take a step back with our clients and we say, what do you want your employee to know when they're done? And if the answer is not how to mop the floor or make coffee, skip it. Just skip it. Stick to the primary message. All of these examples are what we call orientation catch-all syndrome. We often hear clients who, in their orientation courses, want to talk about how to handle a robbery. Really? That's the first thing you want to talk to your new employee about? how about if we, what's the chances that they're going to encounter a robbery in their first couple of weeks? Let's put that off until later. Let's focus on the most important information you want them to understand about your business in the orientation. Probably your brand, your culture, your service mentality. Those are the things that we should focus on. That should be your primary message in your orientation. And part of the problem is that they can't handle it all, and that attention span that Monique talked about is so short and getting shorter. So we also see the case where people want to try to pack more minutes into their e-learning courses. They feel like they're getting their money's worth if they get more into their courses. Just not true, because people don't have the attention span to support that. So an example of this is we have, and in fact, I should say that what you really want is the opposite, right? You should be paying us more to do less. Because if we can shave 10 minutes out of your e-learning course, that's 10 minutes that you don't have to be paying somebody to do training. You're paying them to do productive work, right? And so a great example of this is one of our popular courses is a Osha safety data sheet course. And some of our clients have said to us, well, we don't need that. We already get that for free from another vendor. Well, that course is 35 minutes long. Is it really free? Our course is 10 minutes long, so we could save you 25 minutes per employee. What's that worth to you? All right, so last but not least, another example is one of our clients who does a lot of cross-training. They're really great at cross-training their employees to work in all different areas of the restaurant. And they included uniform standards at the beginning of every single skill position course. And we thought this was crazy, and they did it for a while. We finally convinced them to take that out of there. Every time you're training your new employees in a new skill position, they're cross-training, they have to go over those uniform standards again. So we put that all into a separate course at the beginning of a new employee program. And just by shaving those few minutes off of each of those skill position courses, that literally saves them thousands of dollars in labor cost. And it lets them focus on the primary message for that skill position, which is not uniform standards. So, as some of you may know, I am a huge Chicago Blackhawks fan, woohoo! Who just won their third Stanley Cup in 6 years. And in 2008, the Blackhawks marketing organization came up with a new slogan, and it was "One Goal." And this is a great message that really underscored the fact that the Chicago Blackhawks organization was committed to focusing on one goal every year, which is winning the Stanley Cup. And I really like to think that this is a great inspiration that the players internalize as well. They get on the ice every single time and they're thinking about one goal. And I think this is a great example of how powerful a primary message can be. So, I hope that by now you figured out what my primary message is, and I hope that you'll think about that when you're doing your e-learning courses. So, think about e-learning is not a food fight. Don't just throw spaghetti at the wall and hope to see what sticks. Pick a primary message and stick with it. And as for us fans in Chicago, we've graduated from food fights to champagne celebrations. Thank you very much.